have a lovely mobile unit to go into today to watch the game. All the tailgaters out in the park.
4, 5, 6, 7. We can't sit the same way. We can't dress the same way.
My name is Gwenna Good. I'm a junior, I'm a communication major, and I have a sports management minor. It's a lot harder for women to start out. I feel like there's a lot of things we need to think about more than men when we start out in the media. Like, we have to make sure that we know our facts, we have done a lot of research, and that we look good, because I think we get tested a lot more than guys. I feel like from other people I've spoken to and like seen other women do it and what they've said from like different podcasts or books that I've read, that they've always been challenged and misunderstood and kind of belittled just because they're a woman, but it turns out they know more than every other person on the panel, or the same amount, kind of thing. So yeah, I think definitely at the start, and then once you get your, I guess, like credentials or experience, then I feel like you get that respect. So earning the respect is harder for women, I would say, but hopefully with more female presenters and reporters, it's not as hard if we get into it now.
My journey in sports started as an athlete. I was introduced, thankfully, to both of my parents, as I come from a sports background. I have to show up differently. I can't, the way I'm even today, like, I can't show up casual the same way that somebody else may be able to show up casual. I can't go into it half prepared the same way that a male colleague can. So you're always being questioned and judged because of your credibility as a woman being so different than what the expectations are for men. I always say this, like, if I'm mispronouncing Giannis Antetokounmpo's name and I stumble over it, you're going to automatically assume I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know sports, where the reality is I might have just stumbled, because everybody stumbles at some point or makes a mistake. So the mistakes that you make, you have to be really mindful of, because they're weighted differently. The way that we dress as women is weighted differently than what men are able to do. Wear hair, makeup, maybe nice heels or even nice sneakers, but a nice outfit. I've seen men that can get away with wearing the same khakis and button up. So there's a lot of different components. And then just the overall culture, that women are still often the minority in that space. And I'm a minority in multiple ways as a Black woman too. And there's so many times you're in the room and you're the only woman.
A man and a woman could get the same jobs, and they both deserve equal views on TV, and whenever people watch them, they should be able to have the same platforms.
Knowing that, people are going to care more about how I look. People are going to care about like my hair, my outfit, my makeup. Like, they're going to care more about that before they care about my knowledge of sports and before they care about what I have to say about sports. And it's just kind of walking into any room like that, having that fear in the back of your mind and knowing that, like, you're going to be judged differently and you're going to be held to a different standard, and people are going to assume like you just want to date the players or whatever it is. And it sucks to know that like you already have that obstacle in front of you and you kind of have to work that much harder to overcome it. But for me, at least, it's become a motivating thing to just be like, okay, I'm going to prove to you that I know what I'm talking about. I want to be like the smartest person in the room, and I want to show people what I know and what I can do. And it sucks that you have to prove yourself that much, but it also makes you feel really like cool and really empowered just to be like, because you show yourself new heights of what you're capable of too. Like, in that process, when you're trying to show other people that you can do this, you end up kind of showing yourself like, wow, I'm reaching this level that I never thought that I could. Like, I have worked so much harder and just achieved things that I didn't even think that like I was capable of, because I'm like, I want to, show people that just because I'm a woman, like, you don't get to count me out right away. So it's really cool.
And I even had a recent experience, and it was very, very harmless, and I didn't take offense to it, but this happens often, and the degrees vary of, sitting in a room with a bunch of colleagues and they're making jokes and like, oops, sorry, Renee, I didn't mean to, you know, cover your ears almost, didn't mean to be offensive. And I'm like, well, I'm used to it, you know? So even just the way that you're always the outlier, so you're often in the boys country club vibe.
We're a lot more human oriented in my experience. Like I mean, I personally love a good human interest story. But yeah, just how we view the game, and because a lot of times women do have to know more facts and know more of like the nitty-gritty details to prove to people that like, yes, I can name three players on the team or whatever it is. And that actually brings a deeper level of understanding, because you just focus in and you're like, okay, I have to know everything that there is to possibly know. And that deepens your experience. And then I think women tend to be a little more empathetic as well. So if you're like interviewing someone, you're not just focusing on the stats and how they're playing and whatever it is, like you can really dig deep into who they are as a person. And when you're interviewing someone, like that's what makes for a really good interview, is to have that like real human connection with them.
I would like you to meet Phyllis George. You've probably already seen her. She's got many, many duties. She serves in the sports area on PBS. First question. Yes, strict, right off. Do you feel PBS prepared you, gave you adequate training before they put you right in there on air?
No, they didn't give me adequate training.
Women have played a transformative role in sports history, overcoming barriers and defying societal norms to achieve greatness. From ancient times to the modern era, female athletes have fought for equality, representation, and recognition in professional sports. Their achievements have not only redefined competition, but also inspired generations, proving that gender is no barrier to excellence. Title IX paved the way for female athletes to receive scholarships, compete in collegiate leagues, and eventually transition to professional sports.
Because I've always been interested in it and been a participant. So they said, okay, and the first things that I did were interviews. Dave Cowens was my first, Alvin Hayes, Jimmy Connors. That was easy enough for me because that was one-on-one conversation. Then I had to do my tennis show on Sunday, and there was no preparation for that. They said, do you play tennis? And I said, yes, and then I was doing the show. So
women in sports in general now, and seeing what's happening in the world and knowing I could do that potentially one day is just amazing to just think about.
Allies and more people that are willing to just help, and even calling things out of, hey, you know what, that don't talk to her that way, or correcting others and making sure that things aren't just being ignored. So there's definitely improvements, but I do still feel as though oftentimes many networks and leagues are still only hiring the one. There's the token female, there's the token person of color. There still needs to be more. And I don't know when or how that's truly going to shift to take away those gender biases or racial biases or anything like that. But it definitely has gotten better that there's at least more opportunity. But I think also on the reverse, there's a lot of people that are like myself that are recognizing what we need to do as women, as people of color, to ensure that you can't possibly deny me. My talents, my abilities, my skills that I bring to the room are going to be something that you have to say yes. You have to include me, instead of you can't give any inch of an opportunity for someone to have a reason to, not want to work with you or think that you're not good enough.
This is what a lot of runners do. You kind of get used to being on and being off. So being on camera, like knowing when to be on. In you can joke around in training and before the camera goes on, and then once the camera's on, when the gun goes off, I find I can probably if I'm doing a lot of running.
Tell my 15-year-old self, I know you're going through a tough time right now, and so many pivotal things are happening, but you're gonna get through it, and you're not gonna think that at all. And I know you're gonna think things are gonna get worse, And they do. They will for a little bit, but keeping dance as the constant source of happiness right now is what is going to help you the most, and you'll come out of this thinking like dance has helped you in your healing journey.
Matters because, women are just as big of sports fans as men are. And, so many women's sports are now at the forefront. You have the WNBA, you have the PWHL, you have people really tuning in for women's sports at like the Olympics and things like that. So people want to see women's sports and people want to see women play sports. And I think people want to see women talk about sports. And, representation in all of those spaces is so important because women are such a significant part of the population, and you can't just pretend like they don't exist. You can't just pretend like that's not a huge audience that you can cater to. And I think it's so important for every little girl, no matter where they come from or what they look like or what their situation is, to be able to turn on the TV or go on social media or whatever it is and see a woman who they see themselves in and that can inspire them to take those steps to do what they want to do. Because I remember growing up, like I didn't really see that and I didn't really have that. So it took me a little longer to find that passion for myself. But, if any little girl can like turn on a TV and see someone that inspires her, you know, I think that that's really important, no matter if it's a player or a broadcaster or a coach or whatever it is, because there's such a big population and you almost kind of feel like they get treated like they don't exist. And so I think it's really important to just have that representation for them so that they feel seen as well.
Another person's candle doesn't take away from your flame. So like, if you can share and be kind to other people, it doesn't take away from you, it doesn't take away from what you have, but like helps other people kind of thing.